veins, I've been driving this train. Years in this lane, there's no stopping this flame. Cause I came to the game and I changed it to play how I like, rearranged it to my own domain. Yeah, I got what it takes, made lots of mistakes, taking shots, skipping breaks, feeling lost, feeling great, popping off, singing straight, never stopped, never changed. All the squad here to play, and I've got something to say, yeah. I work hard each and every day, I get lost in the words I say. I don't push pause, no, I push play. I won't stop till I make a change. I withdraw on the things I make. I turn flaws into flawless traits. I build tall, never capped in space. I won't stop till I hear him say, oh, oh, la 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 la, la 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 la, oh, oh. And I'm up again. I got tired eyes, need a cup of blend. That's right, in the AM, that's my only friend. No light, just the sun coming up on the horizon. I lose track of time, yeah, I move fast and climb a new class divine, yeah, true passion.
We left off last time, so we can get all the data from the server. Okay, now we'll see how to create a task. And if we create a task and click on this button, we'll be able to create a task. Then we'll write the task name and task detail and send it to the server. But of course right now it doesn't work, it's static. So we want to send this information to the server, and for this reason first we need to go ahead and create a service, and our service will talk to the backend. Okay, so that's what we want to create first, a service. So here is my service class, and previously we have created for get data or get request. Now we'll create a service for post method. Now for this one, simply I'll go ahead and copy this one. Okay, now over here, instead of get data, I'll call it post data, and instead of get request, I'll call it post request. And over here we'll change our endpoint, and our endpoint is create, and we'll look at it very soon. Now if you hover over on it, you'll see that it takes URL and body, and other parameters are optional. We already have URL, we also have headers, but headers are optional. So over here we need to pass a body, but to be able to pass a body we need to receive it in this parameters. So here we'll write dynamic body. Okay, now here we can just simply pass the body. Now this body would be a JSON type. Okay, this body would be JSON type. JSON type more like, which is key and value pair. Okay, and if after using this post request or calling this post request, we'll just simply return a response back to our controller. Okay, now here we are in our controller. Okay, so right now we'd create a post data method. Okay, now to be able to create one, I'll just simply go ahead and copy this one, this section. Now here, instead of get data, I'll call it post data. Okay, now over here I'll call this one from UI, and as I call it, I'll pass information. I'll pass string, and I'll call it task, and I'll pass another string, and I'll call it task detail. Okay, that's how it go, that's how it would go, and we'll still keep these things, it doesn't matter. So as we click on the button, this method would get called, and we'll change the state of this app because we want to do a bit of animation. Okay, and then right now instead of get data, here I want to call post data. But as we see, we created a service. Now this service takes a body which is JSON type. So over here we need to pass it. So first we want to create a JSON over here. So if you want to create a JSON, you have to have this curly braces. Okay, now here we would simply use our key, which name would be task, and the value is a task, the one I'm passing. Okay, and then over here task detail, task detail. Okay, now over here I'll call it task detail. Okay, now with this, when I call this method, which would get triggered also over here, it would talk to the server, and then it would respond back some data to me. Okay, and I'll check the status code. Okay, and after that, over here we'll just simply update the UI, whatever we need to do. Okay, so right now we just created a service. So service starts from controller. Controller go ahead and calls the service. Service in general will have your get method or post method, or if you have other methods like that. Okay, so yeah, that's how you create a service. Okay, next we'll see how to use this one to call from our UI. Well, to call it from our UI, we need to come to our add task over here, and we already have this controller. There's two controllers that we created. One is name controller and the other one is detail controller. And once we click on this button, we want to trigger a method. Now for now, over here, we'll call this method is, method name is validation method, okay? So here the type would be bool, and here we would call it data validation, okay? All right, now over here, we'll for now just simply return true, okay? Otherwise it would show error. Now for data validation, over here we do if controller, this one, okay? Now if controller set text, and we want to trim the text, so here we do trim equal, it's empty. If it's empty, okay, then we'll just say return false, okay? But before we go ahead and return, we want to send a message to our user that something is wrong over here. Now because we are using getX, so we can do get.snackbar. Okay, now here I will just simply say title, okay, task name, and say task name is empty. All right, and next we do else if. Okay, now here we do detail controller dot text dot trim, okay, and if it's turn false. Now here task detail, and over here it would say task detail is empty. Okay, now we need to find a way to call this one. Okay, all right, and for this one we need to find this button. So the button is over here, so inside this button widget, so we'll wrap it around using widget, and over here, and here I'll just simply go ahead and call validation. Okay, validation, let's see the name one more time. Oh, data validation, sorry. So here we'll call it data validation. Okay, all right, so now let's save it, and you click on this. Task name is empty. Now you type in new task, and over here it will say the detail is empty. Okay, so yeah, that's how you do basic data validation. Okay, so just go ahead and call this method from somewhere and put if else statement. Of course you can do much more than this, but this is the basic idea how you do data validation. Well, next, this is very basic one, but we want to style this one, and for styling over here I'll actually add a widget over here. Okay, and I'll call it error warning MS message. Okay, all right, now inside this we'll create a stateless, we'll just create a class, and we'll call it message, and over here we would create a static method void, and we'll call here task error or warning. Okay, all right, now over here we want to receive string because we'll call this method over here, and here, well, one should be task name, and the other one is task task error or warning. Okay, so these two parameters will pass when we call it. Okay, all right, and over here we'll just simply use a function or constructor, I think that's called, and we'd simply use it from get. Okay, and here we do get.snackbar, snackbar. Okay, now here it does take this title. So here this title is this one, here this one is this one. Okay, all right, but it's the basic one, so we want to customize it more. And for this one, first we'll here set a background color and app colors dot main color. Okay, all right, so that's our background color. And over here we also want to set title text. And for this one we'll use text, and for now we'll use const over here. Let's see, we need to import, make sure we have this. Okay, fine. And then over here we need to put the text should be this one, and we can also style them. Let's see why it's saying that. Okay, let me remove that. Okay, because this is a variable, so it can't be const. Now here we'll have style, and here we do text style, and here we do font size. Okay, so font size is 20, font weight over here, font weight dot bold. Okay, and here font color, colors dot let's see, over here a little bit of red accent. Okay, all right, so now here this section we can mark it as const. Okay, all right, now we'll copy this one, and over here we'll put it again, but this time instead of text style, title text, we'll have message text, and we want to make it a little bit smaller, and let's see, red accent, and okay, like that. Yeah, okay, now we'll save it and let's see how it goes. Now over here, instead of calling this one like snackbar, here we'll call our class message. I think we need to import it first. Message, yeah, let's see, message, yes. Okay, now here this one. Now task name we need to pass. Here we'll just call it task name, and this is your task name is empty. Okay, all right, now let's go ahead and just simply click on this, so your task name is empty. Okay, all right, so I think over here for now, let me change this color to Ember. Okay, so your task name is empty. Okay, now here it's showing the same one, just because here we need to use this one. Okay, all right, now let's save it. So your task name is empty, so it's much longer. Okay, all right, so hopefully it makes sense. I think over here, so instead of red accent, just we'll go ahead use white. Okay, all right, so your task name is empty. It's looking much better. And now we'll simply copy this one and we'll replace with this and task detail. Okay, and your task detail is empty. And by the way, when you do validation like this, you can put more conditions, okay, regarding the text length and this and that. Okay, I will show you one very soon. So sorry. And over here, new task, and let's try this one. So your task detail is empty. Let's see. Okay, we need to restart it. Task name. Now here, okay, your task detail is empty. It's working. Now here, actually, you can set up other condition as well. Else if, I'm just showing you one, but most of them you can add on your own. So name controller the text dot length. Okay, now if the length is less than, say, this is name controller, right? Okay, less than 10 characters. So here we'll copy this one. Okay, so here task name, your task list 10 characters. Okay, all right. So let's click on this one. Your task name is empty. Okay, all right. And so we put in the task name, and here we'll just say my detail. Okay, let's see. I think I'm missing this one. I need to restart. Okay, task name or just a task, detail of task. Okay, now this time we are expecting this message because this is less than 10 over here, right? So yeah, so it's working, right? So yeah, so I'll just simply copy this one more time and put it there. And this time we don't need if. Okay, so we also don't need this condition. Oh, I think yes, we need, because this is for detail controller, and at least you say want 20 characters, okay? And the task detail, all right, and detail. Okay, all right, so here we are doing pretty much good validation, but you can do much more than this. So we need to restart it, hot reload, and new task. Okay, and this is my task. So now, okay, your task name should be at least 10 characters. Yes, new task is great. All right. Okay, now your task detail. Actually, it should be 20. So, but you get the idea, right? But let me. Okay, I think I need to type in. Let's try our best. What's going on? Let's see. Okay, so no warning, it means that it's returning true, right? Okay, perfect. So if it returns true, then we can just do our next step. But you get the idea how to do validation, right? It's very simple, and I like it with this GetX as well, because you can do a lot of interesting stuff when it comes to designing. Okay, so it's just basic if-else statement for your validation. Okay, all right, so now over here, if the validation is true, then we would go ahead and do something different. Okay, all right, so here we'll do else if statement. Okay, if this one, if this is true, okay, if this is true, otherwise we'll just get this error, so we don't need to do false thing over here. So over here we can just go ahead and call this controller this method, post task and task detail, things like that. Okay, now before we go ahead and call it, let's take a look at our backend. Now this is our backend, and over here we created a method last time, create task. Last time we just have done this one, we got all the tasks from the server, but we didn't create any task. So the methods are empty over here. So now we'll focus on create task, this one. Now create task, when you hit this add button over here, so what it would do, it would go ahead and call this one. This one eventually would call post method. Now post method is inside this post data over here, and then we'll call this post data, or sorry, post method, and then it would hit this endpoint create. So when it does, actually we have set up this route handler over here before, so it would call this method create task. Okay, so now over here we define create task. Now as it calls this one as a post method, as it does, because it's coming actually from inside this handle func, which is a built-in method inside this mux router. Okay, so as it calls it, it would pass this HTTP request or a request object, which we can grab using this R. Okay, all right, you can call it anything you want. Now there is also a response writer. So as we get the response, how do you want to get it, and how do you want to send the response back to the server? Okay, now this thing all happens using JSON. So over here from W we can mention it like, so W header, this one, and then set. So set content type application JSON. Okay, all right, so yeah, S should be capital letter. So we are receiving JSON type and we are sending back JSON type. Okay, but here mostly it's saying that, okay, I'll send back in JSON response, but it would expect JSON response as well and send back JSON response. Okay, now here we'll create a variable and we'll call it task and tasks. Okay, all right, now it is error because it's declared but not used, so we need to use it. Okay, now here let's see, now here we want to use JSON dot new decoder decode and task, like that. But here we don't want to do this one, we want to receive it from R. So the request has been sent and we receive the body. Okay, now this body would actually refer to the body over here, this one. Okay, all right, so we would but of course the names could be anything, but whatever we send, that information would be gotten over here using this special word BODY. Okay, all right, and so we get that and we decode it, and after decoding we put it in this task variable, we put it in the memory. Okay, that's what we do. Now whatever the result is returned, we are not going to use directly because it would be saved in the memory by reference. Okay, so we don't need to really put in a certain variable, so that's why it's empty. Now over here, so here I have this variable book, so now it would decode and put information. Now over here, few of the things that we need to set. One is this ID. Okay, so now we'll go ahead and set this ID. So task.id, this one. Now we want to generate a random ID. Okay, so for this one we want to use a special library or package, strconv, this one. Okay, and it has inside itoa. And now here we want to generate a random number, and for this one we would use a rand int. We are saying, okay, between 10,000. Now we have this error because we need to import them at the top. I think strcon, this one, and we also need to import rand. Okay, let's see, or it's mathrand. Okay, now the error is gone. Okay, so we get, because from the server we get this information which is task and task name, but we don't get any ID, so we are generating the ID on our own, and then we want to save it to this task variable that we created early over here, this one, so in this array. Okay, so it refers to this task struct. We want to save it, and for saving we'll just simply do append task. So it takes the old one, put there this one, and then create a new one. So that's how you understand. Takes the old one and put the new one. New one is this one, and then it becomes completely a new one after this. Okay, all right. And then we have to do JSON dot new decoder here, and we pass over here W and encode, and then we say task. Let's see. Okay, so now that's how you create a create task method. Okay, all right, now we'll save it, and then over here we'll stop the server, Control T, and then we'll rerun it, and hopefully there is no compile error. Yeah, so we got all the task. Now this time our job is to send a task information from over here, from our front end. Okay, so this is the front end code, and right now our job is to, from here we call this one. So we need to call this method inside the one we already have, so post data. Okay, well, for this one we'll simply come over here. So here we do get.find, okay, and then we want to find our controller, which is data controller, this one, and then we want to call this method post data. Now over here we want to pass a string because this one takes a string. Okay, so here we do name controller dot text, and we want to use the trim method, which means don't take any empty space, and here detail controller, the same thing, text dot trim. So we'll pass this one to it. Okay, all right, and after passing it, here we want to simply because over here the validation would be done. Okay, so you can just simply go ahead and reroute to a new place. So here we do get dot to are off named actually, get dot to, yeah, this one, and over here we want to call all tasks. Okay, and simply we do a bit of animation. You do transition, and the transition dot circular reveal. Okay, now let's go ahead and check it if we can send information. Okay, all right, and if we can, we want to actually post over here. Let's see. So if we get status code 200, that means it worked. And over here, it would say data post successful. Print. Okay. Copy this one. Data post failed. Okay. All right. So now over here, new Flutter project. We're gonna have to work hard to be excellent. Let's get it done. Okay, all right. Okay, so data post successful. Now let's see if we can view all our data. So it looks like even though it says that data post successful, but we don't see any data. Now let's refresh our restart our UI, and let's see. Yes, so we do see that we have 3, but now there are a few issues. First, the list didn't get updated. even though the data is there right now, we can see that it should be there, right? And so to view all this data, let's see what we have over here in the list. So we do get this one, and over here widget view, we do have task name, which we were supposed to see, but we don't see that. Okay, now let's go ahead and use Postman to verify what's happening. Now over here, okay, we'll come to this one, and let's take a look at our service. So this is 8080. So here we'll actually I'll copy this one, and after copying this one, actually I'll copy all of this. We want to debug what's happening over here. So I'll create a new GET request, okay, and just GET request, okay. So it will get me all the task, whatever the task available there, okay. All right. So task name was not successfully posted, and we see also date is empty, but that's okay. Now task name was not posted successfully. Let's see where there is a problem. Now over here we do have name over here that we are going to pass to it. Now as we call this one post data, which is comes over here, okay, and okay, I see. So here is this problem. Now here this field is a task name, but as I was sending, I send it as a task. So there things went wrong, and of course over here we also didn't do extra validation, so that's why it created problem. So it couldn't find any field as a task, so it should be task name, okay. Now if we come to our backend data over here, yeah, it is also task name, so it couldn't find any corresponding one, okay. So that's why what it did, it didn't find the task name field, so it couldn't submit this part, but looks like it did the other part, okay. Now, well, this issue has been fixed, this one, but we also have to see why our data doesn't get updated immediately as we submit it to the server. We need to check on that one. So we submitted it to the server, and we had this problem. We fixed that one. Now it still doesn't get updated. Now the reason is over here. Well, once you have this post method over here, so it goes to this all task. So we add it over here, and then it goes to all task, which is this one, okay. All right, well, I've added some more task for testing. And now over here the problem happens, this all task gets called, which is over here. Now here this is the problem. So we try to get the data from the server, but what happens is that it just executes. It doesn't wait for the data to be ready from the server and then go and do the build. So that's why the problem is happening, okay. So we need to find a way to let this UI wait, and then once the data is available from the server, then we go ahead and do the redraw of our UI, okay. Well, now data is in the server, okay, but what happens when it comes to this page, it just go ahead and does the build method and done with the build, but it doesn't wait for the data to be available. Now to do that, here a lot of people might do like this, get data controller, okay, and get data. Now get data should be data from the server, okay, because this is a get method that gets called. we know that. Okay, all right, so this is supposed to get us all the data, but still there will be a problem. So because it would still continue, go ahead and do the building of this UI. Now a lot of people might do like this: await and async. Okay, but in build method we shouldn't do it, we will get error. Okay, so what I will do, I'll move it away. So here I'll cut this one. Now over here, what I would do, I'll create a method. I would call it load data. Okay, and put it here. And now here I'll have await, and here we'll have async. Okay, now we'll copy this one and put it here. Okay, now because we are using await and async, so it will wait for the data, and once it is done, then it will continue to do the draw of this UI. Until that, it would wait. Okay, all right. So over here, now we'll restart everything, and we'll add a new task. And here I would say Golang project. Okay, and this is the best backend framework for server-side installation or scripting. Okay, all right. Now let's click on this one, and you'll see Golang project. So it gets redraw this time because it does wait over here, but the waiting time is too low because our server is locally, so it too fast, but it's fast enough to get the data. All right, and then it continues. So with this, we are done with this posting. So this data has been submitted to the server, right? And we can also confirm. So we'll open this one over here, and over here, this is our get method. So we'll see that at the end we have this the one we added, Golang project. Okay, now next we'll see how to add a date to it as you put it in the server. We'll see how to create a time. As we create a task, we need to also save our time. Now in Golang, if you want to save your time or create a time actually, so you do it like this. Okay, first we'll declare a variable as a current time, and we'll now this is a variable, and it would take a time from this time object. Now this time object is coming from this time library, so make sure that you import it at the top. And then over here there is a special function, it's called format. Okay, now over here you need to pass the format, so we'll pass 0, 1, 0, 2, and 2006. all right, yes. So yeah, so that's how you create a time. And after creating a time, actually you want to save it to our task date object, which is over here. So this date. Okay, so now here we do task.date. Here we'll save current time. Okay, all right, so with this we should be good. Now we'll stop the server and restart it. Make sure that it compiles fine and compilation is done. Well, now we'll save, we'll create a task from our Postman. Okay, so over here for creating a task, let's see whether we have done one or not. Okay, looks like we don't have. Anyway, so here I'll create a post request, and here we'll do create. All right, okay, now as we create, let's see, so over here in the body we want to send this information. So what we'll do, we'll just go ahead and copy this one, and if we come to the body over here, let's see, so here now I'll paste it. But before we paste it, because we need to send JSON to the server, so we need this curly braces. Okay, and over here we need to mention the headers as well, otherwise we are sending text over here. So here we do content type, which is this one, and the value is application JSON. Okay, now if you go and see the body, yeah, it looks colorful. Okay, all right. So over here, I would say Laravel project. Okay, Laravel project, best backend framework for server-side installation. Okay, here we'll just change it to Laravel. Okay, all right. So now after this, we'll submit it to the server. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. If we do that, we would be able to see whether it's there or not. So yes, you see it created an ID 81, and then over here we have O3. It's like let's see, it's today's date. Okay, it's March the 30th. Okay, now because it's already in the server, posted in the server, if we come to our app over here, and we would be able to see this project. The project name is Laravel project. Okay, so now over here, let me restart my server, my application. Now view task, and okay, so this one, this is the Laravel project. Okay, so this is the one that we created over here. Okay, all right, now we can create another one. So here we would say Flutter project. Now let's see, Flutter project, best front end framework. Okay, and we'll just skip this one over here. All right, okay, so let's see, create it. So it's a new ID and Flutter project, and this is the date. Okay, now if we restart our application over here, we'll see that it's here. So Flutter project. So right now we are done with that. So what do we need to do? We need to send another post request from front end. Okay, so here we'll create a new task. Okay, all right. So now we'll hit this add button. So hopefully, yes, it's been created over here. Okay, and it means it's working. And as well as if we check it on our Postman over here, and let's hit get tasks, we'll see all these projects. Okay, so it's not a post request, it's a get request. Yes, okay, so this is the one we created and the date is there. All right, so perfect, so which is working. Great. So now we'll come to our project over here, and next what we want to do, next we want to see how to click on this and either view or edit. Okay, so first we'll go ahead and do this view section because we want to view our task. Okay, go ahead and view our task. We need to take care of some other things. Well, the reason is, well, once we click on a certain view like this and we want to view it, we need to make a request to the server, and we need to make a get request. But here we already have a get request over here, so it talks to the service. Okay, all right, and gets this one, and then gets the data. But this one gets us all the data. Okay, but this time, once you want to view a certain task, you just want to make a request for one task, then the endpoint would be different. Right now over here it gets all the tasks, but we want to get just one task, and that's how in real world it works. Okay, in general you would pass the ID, and based on this ID from the server, from the backend, we'll retrieve that information and send it back to the front end, and we'll show it. Okay, so that's what we want to do. But now with the current approach, I have to create a lot of service like this, and which is not good, because you have a lot of code. Okay, so that's what you don't want. So we want to reuse this post data and get data, these things. So in general, in your application, most of the time you will have only one post get data and one post data. So that's why we need to pass this one, this URL, from wherever we call. This way this would stay the same. We don't need to change anything here.
But to do that, we need to separate this thing from here. We can't write them here because right now they are hard-coded. So we want to make them dynamic, okay? So for this reason, we have to come to our folder over here, and over here we'll create a new directory and we'll call it utils. Let's see, okay, there is already one, sorry about that. So here we'll create a new file and we'll call it app_constants, okay, .dart. Now over here we'll create our endpoint, okay, so that's what we want to do. So here we'll create a class and we'll call it app_constants, okay. Now here first thing we'll define our base URL. In this case we are doing http 127.0.0.1. Now for iOS it works pretty well, but for Android you need to change it to 10.0.0.1, okay. And I have a tutorial for that one. I have a link below so you can check that out. Anyway, so that's the base URL, and we want to create another URL. Now here we could say get tasks, okay. Now over here we'll write the endpoint. So in our case, for get task for this service, so this is the endpoint. So I'll take it over here, copy it and put it here. And over here we'll create another one, sorry, get tasks. So we'll copy this one and put it here, and here we'll say post task. Now that's for post method, okay, and which is create. All right, so you already have a create method over here, the endpoint, okay. Now in my case actually I think I need to change my base URL to 8080, so I want to hard code it here like this, okay. Oh, you can use 127, this doesn't matter, okay, it should work, okay. Maybe this is better, but if you're using on a domain, so just replace this with a domain. All right, so with this, now what we could do, we could come to this one over here. Now over here simply we can pass this constants, okay. So that's what we want to do. So here we need to create a string, so we'll pass a string. So before we pass a string, let's come over here. Here we just say string URI, okay. Now in our data controller, of course, we'll get an error. Now here simply we'll just pass app_constants.getTask and the error should be gone, okay. Now this way we just call this one, and this would be called automatically, but of course this method for getting a single task we have to rewrite, but your service doesn't change, okay. So here simply we'll just change it to URI, okay. All right, now the same over here, we need to create a string URI, okay. All right, now if we go to our data controller, definitely we'll have an error, okay. So now here we want to send URI, okay, URI. All right, not really URI actually, I'm sorry. So over here we'll copy this one and put it here, and we'll just simply say post task. So post task has this URI, okay. So yeah, now if we come to service, the error should be gone as well, and here we'll just simply do URI, okay. All right, so with this we are done, but we need to test whether our app is working or not. So first thing, we'll just restart everything, okay. All right, and let's see, it did say that we have an invalid argument. Where let us check over here. Go okay. Oh, this one, yes, we need to I think we need to parse it to URI dot parse. Let's see if it works or not. Or let us check what's the error. So yes, we were passing URI, but it says that we do have an error. Okay, let's check the error type. No. Right. Okay, now because we are in getX, so it also expects you to send the base URL and the URI separately. Okay, so here it can't detect base URL. If it's http.get, then it works like this, but because we are not using any HTTP, we are using this get method from getX. So here we need to do it like this. So once again, over here we need to call this one base URL, okay, all right, plus URI, and then the error should be gone. Okay, so let's restart it. Let's see. Yes, this time the errors are gone and we can view all the tasks. So it means that our endpoint is working. Okay, so we have 5 tasks. We printed 5. Okay, great. Now the same problem most probably would be here, because also we are using this post method. Okay, so here what I would do, I will just simply go ahead and change it. So here we would do like this. We'll copy this one actually, and we are good to go. All right, yeah, just like this. So we already have base URL, and wherever we call it from this data controller, we are passing this and this. Okay, now let's go ahead and create one and make sure that things are fine. Okay, task name is empty, so our data validation. This is test task. This is going to be great. We love Flutter and Laravel and Golang. All right, let's create one. Yes, we did, but it does look like we also have the problem with this create method, but I think we already posted this one over here. Right. So this is the post method, right? So we are passing this one, and if we come to service, well, we do have a base URL. Let's take a look. Yes, we do have. So why we should get this error? Let's take a look. So this is line 17. Okay, so it didn't work. We get an error. Okay, let's restart it and add a task. Okay, so here let's click on this. Yes, data post failed, so we couldn't post it. The data post failed because of this slash, because it's creating 2 slashes here. Okay, so we can just simply skip this one and restart everything, and let's add a task. Okay, all right, so this is our task name. Yes, it worked, so it was this problem. All right, okay. Now with this we are pretty good. So everything is working as we expected. But next thing we want to do, we want to create another endpoint. Now this time we just get task instead of tasks. Okay, we'll just get one, get task. Okay, perfect. All right, so as we are on it, so let's come over here, and so this section we need to repeat, but our service doesn't get repeated. So over here, we'll create we'll just get only one. Okay, and we'll call it single data. Okay, all right, and here get tasks. Okay, and for now we'll skip this one, and let's see. Okay, and a few other issues that we also need to take care. Once it triggers to true, once it's done, then we set it to false, otherwise it would be always true. And here the same thing, false. Okay, so once it returns from here, because here would be waiting. Okay, all right, so we got the single data. All right, well, we didn't get any data. Okay, so with this, our endpoint creating is done, and our API also creating done. Now we'll focus on creating the UI. Okay, so this is related to backend, but backend, of course, we also have to create over here get task just one. Okay, all right, so over here in this screen section, I'll create a new file, and I'll call it view task.dart. Okay, all right, and here, okay, so here we'll create a stateless class, and we'll call it view tasks. Now here we need to import some of the libraries. Okay, great. And at the same time, we need to pass here a task ID. So here simply we would say final int ID. Okay, so we'll just pass an ID, and which should be required. Okay, all right, and now over here we'll create a method. So we want to call, actually, let's see, single data, this method actually. So talk to the backend, we'll get the data. Okay, so we need to call this one. Okay, so to be able to call this one, okay, so here first we would say load single task. Okay, all right, so now over here we would do get.find and data controller. Okay, and okay, first we need to import get library, get. Okay, now here get single data. Okay, now it did talk to the server, so we need to await, and then we do async. All right, okay, great. Now we'll call it from here as we do our build method. Okay, all right, so we should talk right now. If we go ahead and try to work on this, actually it should work, but only problem is we don't have any endpoint that we created, because if we are here, get task, which is this one, and this refers to this one. Okay, yeah, most probably would be able to hit the endpoint. Let's see, so we'll just copy this one, and let's see. Okay, hello single task. All right, okay, now we'll save this, and we'll just do Control-C and restart our server. Okay, now if we come to Postman over here, let's do get task. Okay, now there is ID 1, right? So we just want to actually call get task, and let's see what happens. Okay, all right, here, okay, page not found. Let's see. Okay, we need to send an ID. That's why it says it couldn't find it. So just let's go ahead and send an ID. Here we'll do it like this. So we are sending an ID. All right, and now, okay, and let's see in our server, yeah, hello single task. So which means that we can hit this endpoint. Okay, now of course let's try the same from our method over here, our UI. So right now we are over here, okay, and let's see, where is our view method? So we have this dismissible, so view, so here this button. So once we because it loops through using this list view builder we have, so each time we click on certain thing, certain item from the list, it would help us to retrieve, get us the ID. Okay, how to do that? Now for this one, for now I'll wrap this around gesture detector, and let's see, gesture detector. Now it will have an on tap event. So let's go ahead and work on this on tap event. So here we'll have on tap. Okay, so here we can just simply go ahead and print our stuff. So here we'll see over here, as it goes through, it has an index, right? So first we get that index, and based on that index we get the ID. Okay, so over here what we do, and we also created an object of this controller. Okay, right, so instance. So here we do this one, and dot my data, and then we access the data, certain data, the data that's been clicked, and then we access its ID. Okay, all right, now over here we want to cut this one and print tapped item ID is, okay, now we want to convert it to string. Okay, all right, so now let's restart our server from the scratch. Now view all task. Now of course, because we restarted, let's see, I think we restarted everything, so everything, whatever was saved in the server, that's gone. So we are just here with two IDs, 1 and 2. Anyway, so let's see what we can print. So now if I click on this one, I think that is our view button, right? Yes, so I'm supposed to see 1. Yes, it works. Now if I do this, I'm supposed to see 2. So our tap ID is working. All right, so now the thing is that as I click on this, I have this ID, so I want to pass it to this one, the view task. Okay, so I need to call this route over here. I mean, this is from our route, we need to call this. So for this one, first I'll cut this one, I don't need this, and remove that. Okay, all right, so over here we'll do get.off. Okay, now here we'll send we'll call this view task. Let's see, view task, this one, right, and then we send it this one. But now this is an integer, so we need to parse it to int. So I'll cut this one, and here I would do int.parse. Okay, and Okay, now we'll parse it to integer because this is a string, so you parse it to int. Okay, all right. So now over here, as we get it, all right, so first thing I want to see if I can print this ID over here. Okay, whatever the ID is being tapped. Okay, so here right now it's a past ID is plus ID. Okay, all right, okay, we need to convert it to string because we want to print it. So now anyway, so let's restart everything. Now let's view them. Now over here, let's click on this. Okay, click on this view button. Yeah, past ID is 2 because we clicked on the second one, right? Now let's do this one. We didn't get any data. Let's see what's happening here. Okay, so this thing is fine. Got all the task. Okay, let's come over here. Of course, we are supposed to see that we didn't get any data because there is no really endpoint, so there is no status code, so that's fine. Let me restart our server one more time. I'll click on this like this and view. Okay, right. Well, just now we tried this one. We tried to view and edit, and then it was not taking us anywhere. The reason was over here with this view task. Now this is an empty container, which is just transparent container. But here, if we do color, say colors.red, okay, all right, now you see it's back, so it means it's working once again. Now if I added it, view, okay, it goes there. So that was the problem because it was transparent at that time. Hello everyone, assalamu alaikum. Well, when here I drag like this and I click on this button, this class gets called and it grabs the ID from this button click, and then this function gets called from this build method. Now in return, what it does, it calls this get single data, and at the same time I send this ID. So I send this ID over here. Now it talks to the backend over here, and right now here I'm just passing this get task. Okay, now get task is the endpoint. So what I want to do, I want to pass this ID with this endpoint. Okay, so passing this kind of ID or parameters called sending query parameters. So that's what we want to do, and actually that's pretty easy. Well, now I want to have another string over here, this one ID, if I want to send this. So I'll have two strings. Now I need to connect two strings together in my get request. So what I will do, I'll cut this one first, and then I'll use string interpolation. Okay, so this is called string interpolation. Inside this you put your variable because this is also a variable. Okay, all right, so that's my first variable. And I want to send this one now, and for this one I'll have another interpolation. So here first I'll send this one, and then over here I'll have ID because in the URL I want to grab this as ID. So here this is the ID that I'm grabbing over here. Okay, now of course I need to have this one. Okay, so that's how you send parameters in your get request. Okay, so with this now we'd be able to send this query parameters, and in the URL we'd be able to use this string ID to grab it. Okay, so once we send it, it would look like this. Okay, so let me restart our server. So here, let's click on this. Now we want to print a message over here. Okay, so we want to print whatever we are sending, the total URL because this one gets called from here, right? So we'd be sending or calling this one and sending this data. So it would get called over here and we'll print it. Okay, so now let's go ahead and restore everything. Okay, so I'll click on view and now I'll do this one. So now this task file, view task file, would get called. Now over here you see I'm creating this URL and we are sending this information. Okay, of course now it talks to the backend. Now my backend is over here. Now I don't really return anything directly, but as you see that I can print that ID is a 2, right? Because just now we send ID 2. Okay, now what I could do, I could go back and over here I'll see that it prints ID 1 because this has ID 1. Okay, let's view on this. Yes, ID 1. So that's how you send query parameters from your front-end Flutter to back-end. So all you need to do, just use string interpolation and have a question mark and your parameter name and the variable. Okay, thank you. Okay, well, when I try to view the data like this and I get a response back from the server, and then this error where it says that internal linked hash map is not a subtype of string. So what's happening here is, well, this is get data, which gets me response from the server using this get request. Okay, now I get back a response. So in general, the response is JSON response. Okay, from when you talk to the server gets you back JSON. Okay, now here I'm receiving JSON object. So here I'm receiving JSON object. Okay, so response type is in general JSON once again. Okay, now over here, because it's JSON, but I'm trying to print it as a string. So that's why the problem is happening, because JSON cannot be printed as a string. So you need to encode it as a string. So for that one, you could simply use JSON encode and pass your object. Okay, all right. Now let's try it. And I click on this, and once again I'll get the data from the server. Yes, so we got the single data, which is this one. Okay, so whenever you get that error, just try to encode it using JSON encode function. Thank you. Now first we need to save the data. Wow, so just now what we did with JSON encode, it became a string, right? Now we need to save it in a variable, and for that one, first at the top we'll declare a variable, and do remember it returns like map like object. So over here we'd convert it to a map over here. So we do key is a string, and over here it's a dynamic. Okay, all right. And now we'll declare a variable, and we'll call it single data. Okay, and it's empty right now. And then I'll just copy this one so that we can save time. And over here we do get, and once again I'll copy this one, and here I would put this. Okay, all right. And okay, so this is our getter, and this is where we want to save it first, and then using getter we'll get the data. So what we'll do, simply we'll just go ahead and single data from response.body. Okay, all right. Okay, and over here actually we can print a method where it says that we could not get the data. Okay, all right, now with this we are ready. Okay, so now we need to come to our view task over here. It loads the data, and after that over here we want to get the getter. We want to call the getter. Now our getter is this one. Let's see. Yes, this is our getter. So what we do, we'll just simply go ahead and, okay, we don't need to call it actually over here. Once the loading is done, we would get data, right? Okay, so now we need to find this space over here. Now instead of over here task name, we will do like this. So this is the hint. Okay, first we would check our variable, so we'd call this one a single data. Okay, and to call it we can just simply, let's see, do we have a controller over here? No, in our body we don't have a controller. Okay, all right, so I'll cut this one, and over here we do get builder. Okay, and data controller. Okay, and over here we'll have builder and controller. Okay, and we'll just simply return this container. Okay, now inside this container, for this one we would do, and we'll put it here, and task detail, which is this field. Okay, let's save it. Yes, we see the information. Yeah, okay, all right. So now the problem is, right now it's editable. Okay, so you can edit things, but that's not what we want. All right, so we want to disable it. So here we need to set up a flag for this disabled thing. So we'll come over here, and here would set up an optional parameter. Okay, so optional parameter here would create one first. Actually, we do final bool read only, and here this dot read only default true, default false. Okay, right, and let's see. Okay, now here we'll have read only. It is a property read only text field, and here we'll set this one read only. Okay, let's see. Well, we get this error while it says that this optional cannot be assigned to this one. So let's change it over here. Okay, we don't need to make it optional. Now the error is gone. Now let's save it. Okay, well, so default is false, so it's editable. So if we do it true, then it's not editable. Okay, but we'll still keep it false over here, and we'll send the value from our view task over here. So we'll just simply do over here read only true. Okay, all right, and we'll copy this one, and right after this over here we'll paste it. Okay, and let's see. Okay, we also need the comma. Okay, right, so as you see now it's read only. Okay, all right, so you click on this, you view. All right, so here actually let's see, add a new task, and we'll see whether everything is working fine so far or not. Okay, all right, yeah, so we see over here, yes, so it's working. Okay, so with this view is working, and over here we do have a bit of problem with this left button, I think. So we need to work on this. Let's see, where do we have this one? Arrow back and height. So this is over here. Let's see, it does look like have a padding that maybe we can remove the padding, 8 pixels. Okay, so we are inside this unpressed. Now for this one, let's set up the padding. We'll use this two properties. Okay, well, without this box constraint it's not gonna work. Okay, so we also need to take care of this one. All right, so far everything is looking great. Let's see. Okay, now it's too much to the top, So that's another issue we need to take care. Let's see. Okay, so this is where we can work with this padding. So all right, so now it is same as this one. They're in the same position, as you see. Yes, so they're in the same position. Perfect. So right now we can create task and view task. Okay, well, next we'll see how can we edit the task. Okay, to be able to edit a task, we need to first come over here, and we saw that over here we have two buttons, right? So one was for view, the other one's for edit. So for this one, once again, I'll wrap it around gesture detector. So I'll copy this here and put it here. And actually, I can copy all of it from here actually, because first we would do the same thing. We'll send a request to the server using the same ID we did. Okay. And if it can get us the ID, well, we get the ID, right? So next we need to create a new Dart class, which we'll call edit task. Okay, all right, now this would be pretty much the same as this add task. Okay, so I'll completely copy all of this, and then here I'll create a new class, the edit task dot dart. Okay, now let's change the name. Instead of add task, we want to call it edit task. Okay, edit task. All right. Okay, now everything else should stay same, and over here instead of view task we want to call edit task. All right, and let's see, we need to import it. Okay, cool. Now, well, edit task doesn't have this one. Like if you go to view task, it does have this section where it takes this ID, right? And also this function. So we'll copy this one, and then we'll come to edit task, and we'll just put it right here. And instead of view task, we want to call it edit task. Okay, all right, the arrows are gone. Okay, all right, so now this should work as expected. First it will make a request to the server once again, and then get the data and show it to us. Okay, all right, so now we'll restart everything and we'll see how things are. Okay, now if I view, so for this one I can go and view. Okay, no problem. And for this one I can go and edit. All right, but of course I'm not passing the information yet over here to this edit task. Okay, so it's coming out all empty, but we get the data, and we should first need to be able to put the data in this edit task text field. Okay, so for this one we would need to find the text field. For here, the first thing I want to do, actually wrap this around get builder. Here we do get builder and data controller and builder and controller. So we are using get builder to make it reactive to get the updated data, right? Okay, and we are also instantiating an object based on this controller because this has all the data we need. Okay, and now here we'll simply return our container what we copied just now. Now with this there is a benefit. Okay, now with this get builder, if we can get data and that would get updated immediately, as this widget container would be responsive. Now over here, so now this is edit request, right? So first we make a request to the server, and then we get the data. And remember, if we can get the data, then we save them in this variable, which is single data. And we should be able to read them. First, when you load the page, we make the request is done, and then we should be able to read them. Okay, Now to be able to read them here, we can put that in our controller, name controller text. Now controller, this is the object, and then from here we can grab our single data and we can do task name. All right, okay. All right, now here we'll use a null aware operator. If this is null, we'll say task name not found. Okay, all right. So try smarter, and it works like this one. You see, add it, try smarter is already working, and view this one, try harder. Okay, so we are putting the value whenever we get it from the server. Now here we do the same thing for detail controller, and we do text and controller single data task detail. And here we'll also put null aware operator. If you don't know what is that, check out my other tutorial. I made a tutorial about that. And over here we'll say task detail not found. Okay, now with this here you'll see that the task is there. Okay, why not do this? This is our task. Okay, let's try this, view. Okay, all right, so that means this section is already working. And let's see, what else do we need to take care? Yeah, everything is fine right now. So add it, yes. Now this is also editable, but with this I think we have to change a little bit over here. I think I like this approach of over here getting the data and updating this name controller, okay, and the detail controller, but here we didn't do that. Okay, so what we did here was a bit ugly, so I'll just remove that one, and here I would say task name. Okay, and it's the same over here, and here we do task detail, because name controller will get the value anyway up here. Okay, so it's not a big of a deal for us. All right, so let's see over here, we go back, let's try harder, add it. Okay, now try harder, view. Okay, it still works, right? This is for view, try harder, add it. This is for editing. We need to take care of this issue, which we did before, like over here. I think this should be for scaffold. Okay, now here we want to use let's see, what are we using over here? This icon button. Okay, for this icon button we can copy from here this code and just put it right below it. I think it should work. Okay, it went up, well, way too up, so we'll use 60. Okay, now all the buttons, they stay in the same position. Okay, now it looks much better. Okay, great. So we can go and edit stuff right now. And over here, the data validation would still work if you try to click on this, at least 20 characters, because the data validation is the one that we copied. Okay, now this was in the server earlier, so that's why we have been able to send it. Let's see, it says this task detail, so our problem is with the task detail, but if you remove it from here, it'll say now task name. All right, okay, cool. So that's great. So this is for edit section. Now here we need to work on this add button. So let's come over here with this add one. Now here we can still do the same. So let's see, this post data. So let's get over here. So right now we want to post data to the server. Okay, and so it will have this. We already have post method 1, but this time the URL should be different, because whatever the ID that we are, whatever the task we are editing, we need to pass the ID.
just like we got it for view task, right? So we need to grab the ID. So we'll send it to the backend, and in the backend, they'll try to find it. If they can find it, they'll replace the old one with the new information, the one we send. So for this one, we need to send the ID, okay? Now for this purpose, here we'll copy this one, okay? And we'll put it one more time, okay? Now post, so because this is update method, so here we'll do update, okay? And let's see, so we do have a post method over here, but this time we can't use this post method, okay? We need to use update method. So here I'll copy this one, here I'll say update, okay? Now instead of post, we need to use update, okay? All right, now let's see. Okay, well, we don't really have update method, I'm sorry. We have a method called put, okay? So on the back end, if you try it with this one, a postman, you'll see there is no name called update. The method is put. Anyway, I'm not sure why it's confusing. It should have been update, but anyway, so they named it at put. So here we are passing this base URL and URI, but we have to make sure that we are also passing the ID. Now let's come over here. So here we have this one. So as we call it from our added task over here, so we need to change the name, update data. So we also need to be able to send the ID of this post or task. So here we'll just simply create a new parameter argument, and here it would come from controller dot single data, and here we'll just grab the ID, okay? Now let's see. Well, it'll show an error because over here we need to put it, okay? Now we want to send it as int, okay? All right, now we have this ID. Now just like before we have seen, we also have to send it like this, okay? So using string interpolation. So well, anyway, I'll first actually I need to cut this one first, and then this one, okay? And right after that, I'll rename it as ID, okay? All right. Now we'll copy this one, okay? And let's see. Yes, we'll put it here. So post task would be given with ID, okay? Now we can't really say it post task. We need to create a new endpoint, and we'll call it update task. But of course it's not there yet, so that's why we get this error. So let's go to this file, and over here we'll just copy this one and put it here, and update task. And here we just simply say update, and we need a slash for this because after that we'll have something like this actually. Okay, so in this case we'll just change the endpoint. Instead of get task, we are saying update, so this one, which means this one would get hit. All right, okay, cool. So yes, with this, things are looking good, and the error is gone. So we'll call this one, and let's see why we have this error. Update. I think I do have a mistake. It should be update. Okay, so we are in this data controller, so we are sending this endpoint with our ID, and over here, when you come over here, we're using this put method, okay? All right, and everything else stays the same, no problem. So this is the time we go ahead and try to check, and what will happen, let's see if we can update it.
over here we'll go to all task page. Okay, all right, so let's go ahead and try it. Let's restart our app. Oh, by the way, sorry, before we go ahead and let's take a look at the back end over here. So now back end, I have this update method already. I already have one. So it's more like the get task method, the one we created early. So we get all the parameters using this variable, just like we got for get task. And we also set a flag over here. And then we look through all the tasks we have, I think just like we did over here. Okay, the same thing. I need to remove this one. And let me remove this one as well. We don't need this. Okay, all right. And then we are trying to match the param ID from here with the task ID, okay, which is saved over here. We get each task and put it over here, and then we get the ID. Now over here, the magic happens. So with this kind of syntax, it tells you that, say for example, we want to update the information for ID 3. So here would be 3 plus 1. And we have this spread operator as well. So with this, what it does, it takes everything up to 3, which means index up to 2. So it will take like this, 0 and 1. So first 2 items, okay, until you reach ID 2. But because we are going to remove ID 2, so it will not get ID 2. It will get those first index and second index, and it will skip the third one, because third one that we want to delete. And then it will, you see over here, it has this +1. So what it does, it skip that number 2 and get rest of them, the spread operator. So all it does is, if you have like this, so if you want to update index 2, so here it is 2, and 2 plus 1 is 3. So what it does is, this kind of syntax, it will get first 2 and skip that one, which is this one, and get everything else. Now I think skipping happens because of this 2 dots. You see, first time it's at the front, but later on it's at the back. Okay, so it gets all of this and skip that one and get rest of them because of the spread operator. Okay, so that's how it works. And as well as we have this, we encode the one we get from our request, and we encode it, sorry, decode it and put it in this task variable, which is happens by reference in the memory. And then we also set the ID, okay, whatever the ID, okay, we set the ID because it deletes that one. Okay, so actually it completely deletes. So over here the ID is still there, okay, because it's a local variable. All right, okay, so with this it creates a new one, whatever the information was given. So it deletes the old one first and create a new task. Okay, and then, I mean, a new task array, and then whatever was given, it decodes them and create a new task over here for us, only one, and we assign an ID to it. Okay, so that's what's happening, and then we put it over here. Okay, and then we also say, yeah, return true, and yeah, that's all. So over here, if things go wrong, we get error message. Okay, now one thing is missing over here, the time. So I think we also need this time. Okay, for now we'll just put it here because we have only one time over here, current date or date. We didn't have one for update. So for now we'll just use the one, only one, but you can create actually one more over here, like update date, create date, like that. Okay, but hopefully it makes sense. And so we'll put it here, and let's see, our terminal is Okay, kill terminal. Okay, so this is one, and I'll run the terminal. Okay, great. Well, now if we come to Postman, and well, I'll copy this one. Okay, now I'll delete this and we'll do get tasks, and that would be a get method. Let's check everything. So we have this 2. Okay, now we want to update, say for example, number 3, okay, or number 4. Well, we don't get any information because there is no ID as number 4. Okay, all right, so we don't get anything back in return, but let's see, we were supposed to get that one. Update task. Let me see if we are missing anything else. Okay, so this is update queries ID. Oh, right, need to change this one, and this is put. Okay, all right, now we get an error because there is no ID as a 3. Well, ID as a 4, ID as a 3, no. Now here I want to update 2. Well, of course, if I update, the body is already here, so number 1 would be updated using this information, task name and task detail. Let's go ahead and update it. Yes, number 2 ID is updated like this. Now if we check it from our server, I mean front end, Flutter, now here you see Flutter task. You can view it like this, or you can, oh sorry, not this one. Let me restart it. So we want to edit it. Okay, all right, so now I'll just simply remove 1, and I would want it to be successful. Okay, so just change 1, and let's hit it, and it looks like we do have an error. So edit task over here. Oh, okay, so that's string, but we need to pass it as int. Okay, so let me check on this method. What do we get here? Oh, it's int, right? So come over here and we'll parse it to int. So we'll get that one. Here we'll do int.parse and put it there like this, and let's save it. Sorry. All right, now let's edit it. Remove 1 and go now. All right. Yes, looks like oh, it says that it failed. Yes, it did fail because over here the name didn't change. So it failed from where? Let's see. Okay, check it over here, and let's see what we get here. Get tasks. Oh, this is the old one, right? Okay, anyway, so we'll come to service over here. So this was the update method, and put method, and let's come to our controller, which is this one, and the data failed. Right. So over here I'm calling the wrong one. It should be update. Okay, and update task. All right, so this time it should work. Add it. Okay, remove 1, and let's put a little more information. Learn go now. Oh yes, it worked. Like you can view it. Yeah, and if we verify it with our Postman over here, get. Let's get all the task. Yeah, so that's how you go ahead and update Perfect. So it's working so far as we expected. All right. Or what's I'm sorry. The delete method doesn't work yet. We have to work on that. So yeah, let's edit this one. All right, try harder. Yes, perfect. Sorry about that one. Okay, so everything is working as we expected. So next we'll see how to go ahead and delete a task. To be able to delete one of our posts, we need to just simply go ahead and copy this one first, and over here we'll call it delete data, and over here instead of this we'll say delete. Okay, and for delete we don't need to put the body, send the body. We can just simply send our URI with the ID. Okay, because delete would just find the ID in the backend and delete information. Okay, all right, I'm sorry for the noise. That's my dog walking, so you hear the noise. Anyway, so over here we'll also create a task, and here it's a delete task, and here we'll call it delete. Okay, you're right. Now for the controller itself we need to repeat the same step, so we'll just simply go ahead and copy all of this, and over here instead of update task we would use delete data. Okay, and here delete. Yeah, just like that. And as we are deleting, we also don't need to send this one. This should work without this. Now if you go there, we don't need the body, so you can remove that. Okay, so with this you have this powerful this few methods. That's enough for scaling up this project. This is for getting all the data. This from getting one single data, and posting one data, or any kind of post should go through that, and update and delete. And the service only has 4, and in general 4 enough for any kind of big app. Okay, because you'll always get method should always go through this one. Post method should go through the post method like this. Okay, anyway, so now we'll come to our view over here, and this is the place where we want to delete as we slide, if you remember. Okay, like this. All right, so before we return after deleting, we need to actually call the delete method. So far we didn't do that because we're not ready for that, but now everything is ready, endpoint and our related functions. So over here we'll just simply call controller.delete data, and let's see. So delete data, we do have a task we see. All right, we also don't need to send any kind of task or task detail. Only thing we need to send is the ID. So let's remove that, and now come over here. So we'll just to take that part. Okay, now here we need to send ID. So here we'll do int.parse. Now here controller single data ID, yeah, just like that. Okay, so it should go ahead and delete information. Okay, now let's take a look at the backend. And if we come over here to our backend, all these methods are ready. So over here. Now delete would be very simple actually. We can copy any of this, not really. Let's copy it from update here and find this delete one, we'll put it there. And let's see, well, we don't need to set the ID, we'll remove that one. We don't need to create a task, we'll remove that one. And we'll also remove this one actually. Okay, and we also don't need to do this one, I guess. Yes, yeah, we don't need to encode anything. We also need to remove this one, we don't need this. So it'll just remove everything from this, whatever ID is, because we need to send ID, right? So whatever ID is given, keep that one, and right before those, that one. So, and make a new one and put it over here. Now we want to send a JSON response. If we want, we can actually. So status success. Well, in a lot of other places actually we can do it, like when you did edit, we didn't do that, but I think we can. Okay, so we'll just return from here, and yeah, that's all. So let's see our server. Terminal is not opening, so where is my terminal? Okay, right here, RC, and go run main.go. all right, okay, cool. So we expect that it should delete the method, and at the same time I think we also need to change over here. We don't need ID here, we need ID like this, okay, and I'll just put it here and delete instead of get. So this is a delete method. Yes, everything stays the same. Let's save it, let's cancel it, restart it. Okay, cool. Okay, so let's restart our server, make sure everything is okay. Yes. Okay, now as time we restart our server, it gets back the old information, because this information over here not really in a database, even though we have this backend, but this backend is put everything in a memory. We didn't connect MySQL yet, we'll see that in future tutorial. So we'll come over here, restart once again, view all the data, and now let's see if we can delete this one. Okay, and looks like we got an error. Let's see, where is the error? Old task over here. I'm sorry about that, that was a silly mistake. Over here, even though I'm trying to delete, but I'm still calling this update task, which corresponds to this one. So we need to change it with delete task. Okay, so we'll come over here and just replace it. Okay, all right. Let's restart it. Don't worry about this one. This is sudden state change in the app. Now, hopefully this time it should be okay. And let's remove it. Okay, it's gone. At least over here, this is the message, but of course we want to say data delete successful, doesn't matter. Let's go ahead and retrieve all. Yes, there is nothing there. And if we do postman, yes, it's all empty, we don't get any of this thing. But right now with this, we want to create a new task. Now, okay, let's update it. Yes, we updated. Now if we want, we can view it. Yes. Now if you go back, if we want to delete, yes, it does delete. Okay, you can go back again. All right, so yes, with this we are done with the CRUD operation. Sorry for the noise again, that's my dog playing, he's pretty bored. Anyway, so now the next thing we want to do, a few things. We want to take care of our routing system. This is not how you do in general routing. We want to put them all in a separate file, okay, like the way we are doing routing like this. Very soon it may get ugly, and as well as we also do some of the loading animation as we talk to the server. This time we'll take care of the routes like as we said last time. So for this one we'll have a dedicated folder and file for routes. So here we'll create a directory and we'll call it routes, and then over here we'll create a new file and we'll call it routes.dart. okay, and inside here we'll create a new class and we'll call it routes class. Okay, so here we'll define all the routes. Okay, so in general you should define your routes with a string, a function, and a list. So these three things we need. So first we'll go ahead and define a static variable string for home route, and we'll call it home route would be always with a slash. And for this one here we'll have static string get home route. So as I said that we also need a function, so this function would return a string. Okay, so the string we have defined early, that one. Okay, all right, so because a lot of time if we use getX, that needs a string as a route. Without string it works as well, but I think with string it's much better, you have better control. And then you also have to use create a list of your routes, and the type is get page. Okay, now for this one we need to import a library first, I mean getX get. Now here we'll call it routes, the list name. Okay, now it should also be static type because we want to access this properties using this routes class name. We would use routes class dot like that. Okay, so here we'll define our get page function. I think that's okay. So get page for home route. Okay, all right, now it takes few parameters, like one is page and another one is name. Okay, so there's two. So in this case here the name is the one, the class you want to call. So here we would call it home screen, because home screen is our main screen, which is this one. Okay, you need to import it as well. So we can just return one line over here, and over here the name is home. Okay, all right, so this home name is this string's name. Okay, so when you call this one using this one, so the string would refer to this string, and then eventually it would return this one. Okay, we'll see it very soon how it works. So now we'll go to main over here. Now we are going to define initial route, and in that case we don't need home route. So here we do routes class dot get home route. Okay, now it does take a string, okay, as you see over here, and this one returns a string. If you go and see this one, the string is this one. So next time you need to change this one, you just change here and everything else stays the same. This way it's more organized and maintainable. Okay, so when you call this one, this refers to this string, which is this one. So these two are same, and then it finds from here. Okay, so then it would refer to this home screen. Okay, all right. And then we need to, because we'll have many routes, so here we have another property which is called get pages. It takes a list of routes, but we already defined a list of routes here, so we'll just simply call this one. Okay, so because this is already a list, so here we do routes class dot routes. Okay, so yeah, that's how you define routes in getX using a different separate file. Okay, so whatever the routes you have, you can always define them in a separate file and start to access them from your main page, okay, or main.dart file. Okay, all right. Okay, next, if you have more routes, just go ahead and do like this and you should be good to go. So next, well, now let's go ahead and restart our app. We see that, well, nothing really changed. Next, we want to, this view task over here, we want to put it over here, okay? Well, also for this one, first we'll declare a static variable, string view task, and here view task, okay? And same as this one, here we also define this one, get view task route, okay, and it would get view task for us. And over here we'll just copy this one and we'll put it here. Now here we'll refer to view task. Okay, now here, of course, I think this is all task actually, not view task. So let's change all of them. All right. Okay, and over here we'll call all tasks. Okay, now if you see and come over here, well, so from home page, which is this one, from here we are calling view task. Let's see, all task actually. So when you click on this button, we go to all task, but at the same time we see that we have defined this animation. So we can copy this animation and we can come to a routes class and we'll just simply put it here, okay? Animation. Let's see. Okay, let's see, get page, which takes transition duration. I think this is one we want to use. Oh yes, I think transition duration. So here, okay, all right. Now here it might need const, so let's add the const modifier. Okay, now from our home screen over here, this time we can just simply comment this out. We don't need this now, just comment it out first. And here we would do routes class. First we need to get a function, so get dot to, okay, or let's see, get dot to, get dot off named. All right, so this one, if we can get over there, and then we can just simply call routes class. Okay, all right, we need to import it, and then we do get view task. But I think once again we need to change the name for this one. It should be all task route, all tasks. Let's be corresponding. Yes, right. So now you are here. All. So here we need to replace it with all tasks route. Okay, the same. All right. So now we'll restart everything once again. So here we'll click view task. Okay, here we go. Well, of course, right now we don't have any task. Now let's go ahead. Okay, now with this, you will see there is a problem because you are using off named. You can't go back because when you use off named, it removes the earlier page or route from memory. Okay, so for this reason, actually, we can't use it here, but it is helpful if you want to remove some routes, and we'll see down the road why just now what we did and why we did. So this is the reason you sometimes you use off named, sometimes you don't. But now if you go ahead and check it here, let's see. Okay, okay, we need to use to named. The reason is because it takes a string. Off named takes a dynamic page. Okay, now the error should be gone. Okay, yes, it works, and we can still go back. It's a beautiful animation, right? You see, yeah, that's where GetX shines again, and this is the reason I love GetX so much, because it does come with some cool animation. So we don't need this one anymore, so we are done with this. And okay, now just now I was saying that if you use to named, you need a string. Now in our case routes, this one, it returns a string. But if you use off, sorry, let's see, where was it? Yeah, just a 2, that takes a dynamic page, as you see, 2. Get the 2. Okay, if you hover over on it, you will see that yeah, here dynamic page. Okay, so that's different. That directly takes a class name instead of like this, because this one returns a string, and when it does, it comes over here, and for that string it finds the class. So it's a little detour, but it has its own benefit, and we'll see why. Okay, all right, hopefully it makes sense. Now we don't need this one, so we do the same for our add task. Okay, now here we'll just simply, well, first thing, let's see, we have to define it first. So here I'll copy this one, and here I would say add a task. Add a task. I think I can copy this one. So here get add a task route. Okay, and here it's add a task, and here we'll just copy this one, and here add a task. Now this is the file that we need to import. Let's do it, and here we'll put add a task. Now this animation we'll copy from here, whatever we were given. So let's see. So I'll copy this section first and just replace this one. Okay, cool. But here it takes a different property, which is a transition duration. Okay, now let's restart. Let's restart. Okay, so here view all, we don't have anything. Now here add task, this one. Now you can go back. This is beautiful. Okay, all right. So yes, and as we are doing this on, I think we need to take care of this issue where it's add task. So I'll close this because we don't need them now. We don't need data controller. Okay, we need add task. Now add task does have a bit of problem with this button, so let's fix that. Now over here we can just simply put this padding and edge insets 0. Okay, and box, let's see, constraint box constraints. Yes, it worked, and here we want 60. Okay, so it came down a little bit. Now you can go back. Beautiful animation. Look at that. Okay, see, it's more professional looking app. All right, so now here is when we add a task. This is what we'll do right now. Humongous task. This is the longest task ever. We need to pull it So what will happen? Okay, I think I made a mistake. I should have changed it first. Anyway, now for add a task over here, I'll define the route. I think we did add a task. Okay, so add task is here. It goes over here. But once you click on this add button, so for this section, yeah, I know we do have transition, right? So for this one, we want to refer to home page. Okay, so I'll just simply cut this one and we do get dot off named. Okay, so now here we'll remove of all, whatever the pages was early, we'll remove all of them. With this, it removes all the earlier pages. Okay, and but it takes a dynamic page, so we can do this one. Okay, string. So we'll remove everything, whatever the pages we had early. Okay, let me show you an example, otherwise you might think what's happening here. So if I add it here, you see, well, let's restart. So let's come back. Let's add one more. A new task. New task. Get it done the 5th of this month. Okay. All right. Let's add this. Okay. All right. So now here, once you click on this, you will see that it takes you this page. We don't want, once we add it, actually, we don't want to go back to this page again. We may go back to home page. Okay. All right. So that's what we want to do. So this, after adding this, we want it first, well, we may go back to home page, or we may go back to this one, but we don't want to go back to this. Okay, so this is the problem. So once we click this add button, we want to remove the earlier route. So that's what we want to do. Okay, so let me erase this. So here we do get dot off named. Okay, and let's see, and here we'll do routes class. So let's add this. Yes. Okay, now you click, you go to home page, and this is more practical rather than going back to add page again. Okay, so that's where the names are quite different. Okay, all right. We'll do the routing for our edit task. Now for this one, once again, we need to come to this route page, and let's copy each of this, and here we do edit task, and let's replace this, and we'd copy this one as well, and this one, get edit task. So you get the idea. Let's import it. Now, if we are going to take a look from here, so added task is inside our all tasks. Let's see what's happening here. Require an argument. So let's go to our all task over here. So this one. Well, of course, from here we also need to pass argument. Now if we are going to take this argument, so inside this, as we call it over here, we need to send an argument. Okay, so for that one, let's see what we are sending. From here looks like this is the edit task section. Let me enlarge this. So this is the edit task, and over here we are sending string to it, edit task, so to string. So definitely we'll call this route, and here we'll send string ID. Okay, all right, and we can grab it over here. So now here we get it, and here of course we need to do interpolation because ID is a string, right? So I'll cut this one, and over here I would do like this, and this one. Then we'll have this question mark, and then we'll have this ID, and right after that we have this ID. Okay, now this ID refers to this one, and this would be a variable, and this is the variable that we want to grab, and that's how you pass an ID from a router. Okay, yeah. Now over here, of course, we need a bit of change even now. Let's see. So here we need to pass the ID. Now this arrow function is not going to work because first we need to get the ID, and then we need to pass it. So we'll use just a normal function like this. Okay, so to get the ID over here, we could do like this. We can declare a variable var ID, and here we do get.parameters. Okay, now inside this we can do ID. So now we'll return our class, which is edit task. Now of course we need to send ID, the one we have over here. Now in this case we are taking integers, so we need to do int.parse because that ID, the one we have, it returns a string. Okay, all right, and let's see, add a null checker. Okay, and with this we should be pretty good. Okay, now if you come over here, edit task, let's see. Well, after editing we go to all task. Sorry, we are here actually. Yes, okay, cool. So now what we could do, we would add it. So we'll just simply take this out from here, or comment out, and then here we do routes class. Well, that should be wrapped it inside. Now first take a look over here how we want to do it. So we click this button and we'll go to the edit page. So we might want to come back. Okay, so here we would only do get.toNamed because we might want to come back. Okay, so here we do routes class dot get edit. Okay, this one. Now over here we need to simply pass this one, the one we already had early. Okay, so we'll copy this one and pass it. Let's see. Okay, so added task, this one we are taking string, and over here we are also taking string. You're doing it as a string. Well, let me do it like this. So I'll just take that out first, and here I'll take this one and put it like this. Yes, the error is gone. Okay, cool. Yeah, just like this. So we'll save it now. Okay, now let's do this one. So yes, to named, and we can get back right. But of course, if you want, you can also do a bit of animation, which I'm enjoying a lot actually. So over here, so it goes to the added page. Yeah. Anyway, so now this is with this edit button, right? Now we need to do the same to this view button over here. Now for this one, once again, we'll declare route. So copy this one, and here we just simply replace this with view task. So let's replace it. And for view task, we'll copy this one as well and get view task route. So here we do view, and here we'll have view task. And these two are pretty similar, so we'll just go ahead and copy this one. So here we'll put it here just like this, and instead of edit, we would do view. Okay, and here we do view, view task. And then here we need to import it, and it looks like everything else stays the same. Okay. All right, now would come over here, and it would be just like this one actually. So we'll copy this one and replace this. Okay, all right, so get view task. Yeah, everything else is the same. Now let's save it, and let's view task. Looks like we do have a problem. We are not supposed to go to that page. So to name the route class. So let's come over here. So here we are doing view task. Let's see if we have problem or not. So this is added, this is view task, added task. Okay, let's restart our app. Let's check over here. So if we do added task, yes, it does add it. If we do view task, it does view. Yeah, now it's working. Most probably we didn't restart our app. Okay, beautiful. Look at the animation, so cool. All right, so now added task over here, we also need to add a route over here. So for this one, we would come over here. Now this is the route. Okay, and it goes to off all task over here. So we already have a route for this one, so we'll just go ahead and simply call it. Okay, so let's remove this one, and here we do get dot off name. Okay, so once we add it, we want to go to all tasks page. So routes class get all task route. Okay, all right, and make sure that we don't have any problem. So added task, I'll just simply change this one. So urgent. All right, so we want to go to all tasks. Yes, now if we go back, yeah, that's okay. This is fine. All right, yeah. Or let's see, of all named this one. Yeah, let's restart. View task, add it. So let's remove this. Okay, and okay, but it might cause a problem because we can't go back. So I think off named is good, because sometimes not going back is a bad experience for your user. Okay, so we want to delete a task and do animation. Okay, right now you can go ahead and delete it, so it's a little boring. So this is not what we want to do. Okay, so we want to go ahead and do a bit of animation as it deletes. Well, now to do animation, we need to come over here in our data controller. Okay, let's come to this part. Okay, now all these sections we have to do a major change here. First, take update out from each of this. Okay, and yeah, we want to put it at the end. Sometimes we might need 2 updates. I'll show you. Okay, and over here as well. So we can remove this middle one from each section. Okay, and now with delete, it's the same thing. Okay, so now as we delete, nothing really happens. So we want to add an animation, but this deleting happens too fast. So over here we want to use future delayed. Okay, future dot delete. So you want to delay a little bit. Okay, so you do duration, say, sorry, duration seconds. Would wait 1 second. All right, and over here we'll have a function, and inside this function, let's see, so we want to do this one, is loading equal false. We want to set it back to false because that's the default state. And here we want to cause one update right after it immediately, so we can actually remove this one, and right after this another one, otherwise it won't work. So it'll call update 2 times, so UI will know that variable has changed, and right after this UI will know that there is another variable changed. I mean the variable has changed another time. Otherwise, if you wait from here to here to the UI, it just change 1 because the UI didn't know that the variable has changed 2 times. Now for others we should change it like this, but because for others we are not doing animation, so we'll just do it for delete data, but you get the idea. So now here we have this delete data. Now this animation should happen in this all task over here. So as we delete one, we'll see a loading animation. So for this one, we need to wrap it around getBuilder. GetBuilder makes the widget reactive. We already know it. Data controller, builder. Sorry, actually we would call it controller. And here we'll return return. Okay, now after that we'll have a sized box over here, and width and height, double dot max finite, height double dot max finite, and over here we will have a child. And okay, we also need to take care of another issue, otherwise we'll keep getting this error. Over here, based on this controller, we want to access the variable that is loading. Okay, if it is false, then we show the column, which means there is no animation. Do remember, when we call the delete button, sorry, delete data method, it is change immediately. That means that this condition would be false, so we'll fall back to this sized box over here. Okay, now here we'll do this animation using this SpinKit 3 and out. And for this one, you need to go ahead and install this dependency. This one, I already did that. And over here, I'll have this one. So this is a code item builder it needs. And here we also do a little bit of a border radius. So here we do border radius dot circular like 15. Okay, all right. Don't worry, we'll restart it and it should be gone. Okay, all right. And before we go ahead and launch our animation, and we need to take care of another issue, which is inside this column. And now we know that previously inside this column we had one get builder reactive widget. We can't have two of similar controller, it might cause a problem. So here we need to delete this one. To delete that, first let's see. So this one belongs to this one, so I can remove this, and from here this section. Okay, and we also don't need this, we are good. Okay, then inside we also have this controller instance, but this is coming from the top, from here, so because they have the same name, so you don't need to worry about that. Okay, now we'll restart one more time. Okay, in view all, we'll see we have two tasks, and let's see what happens here. Yes, this is the animation. Okay, now if you reload it, you see it is gone, but it didn't update the UI. Okay, so now there's this problem with that one, so let's see how we can fix this one. All right, so to be able to work with this, if we want it to be gone immediately right after this, we need to make a change over here. Now it was not updating. The reason is because once we delete it, we do have a delete request and we stay in the same page. So right after that, there is no network request. So that's why we don't get to update our data. Okay, I mean, so we need to make a network request to get the new data back from the server. Okay, so we need to do that. Well, for this reason, we need to come to this file, and inside this class, and over here, let's cut this one, and instead of returning arrow function, we'll return function. Okay, all right. And right before that, we'll implement our logic. So over here, if it is successful, so we are returning, and then we make a network request. Okay, all right. So over here, we do get data. All right, now over here, we can we need to use this instance, get data.controller, controller.getData, and over here we need to await, otherwise we'll still have problem that even the data is there but we didn't know and we didn't wait. So this basically tells you wait for the data and then go ahead and do your stuff. Okay, yeah, so yeah, so that's it. Now I also made a tiny change over here. I also put await over here, so make sure that everything happens right after we get response from the server. Okay, so now I'll restore everything. I'll view my task and I'll add a new task over here, and this is a new task. We love our new task. We need to finish it soon. Okay, all right, perfect. So now let's go ahead and delete one. Yes, okay, perfect. It's working as well, and it works as well. If you go back and see no task, and nothing happens here. But of course we can modify it more. But with this we end of this tutorial. If you really liked it, don't forget to subscribe and share this tutorial. But I think the next part of this tutorial would be how to change from GetX to provider, because it doesn't really mean that I hate GetX. I really love, as I said many times during this course, but a lot of other students or fans, they also want to learn provider. So I'll show you how to turn this into provider. And over here I was using Golang as a backend, and in next part actually I'll use Node.js. Okay, so a lot of students also want to learn Node.js. Thank you.